Hey there, welcome to episode 22 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. Today is Friday, July 28th, 2023. Another solo episode by yours truly, Dan Hugo. Solo episodes are kind of boring or informative, depending on how you look at it. They're not as good as a discussion, but this episode is a minor update on the Project DTP Retrospective, which has yet to officially commence. That's what happens when you have an army of one. Let's get to it. So the notion with and by the way, my allergies are totally going nuts today. If you are in Las Vegas and you do not suffer allergies, don't worry, you will. It is important to examine where we have been to be better prepared for where we are going. That sounds good, doesn't it? That's a Boy Scout motto, be prepared. Also true of so many other endeavors. So we may have already forgotten. So I will say it here. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. That is George Santayana from The Life of Reason, 1905. Variations of that, I'm sure, have been a part of your daily. Those who cannot remember history are doomed to repeat it, and so on. There's a lot of variations. That one's pretty close. But I have been told by younger people that history is overrated. Well, there's time to learn. So the Downtown Project, I was a spectator. I was not part of directly. I did not have a entrepreneurial venture that I brought to the Vegas area, but I was an employee of Intel at the time. I was the only employee of Intel Corporation in the state of Nevada. I know that for a fact because of some of the administrata that took place when I was hired to set up a virtual office so that I would be paid in Nevada with all that entails. Later, there were two other people officially based in Nevada, for what that's worth. But I was traveling all the time, so I would frequently make an appearance downtown during the Downtown Podcast, during the Work in Progress dinner, which was also on Wednesday, if I recall. Various other gatherings, endeavors, the Downtown Lowdown, different ways of finding out what was happening. And of course, I talked to people all the time, just general social engagement. But I was not a part of the Downtown Project. I was merely a spectator. In fact, I did not live downtown either. Still don't. I live way up in Centennial Hills. If anybody's familiar with the area, it's a safe distance. So my day job made for these connection possibilities that were unparalleled today. I used to say my Intel business card, though they are very cheap, they're printed on very light stock with, as someone, it had one rounded corner. And so the joke was that Intel is always cutting corners. But it did make for some great networking here in Nevada, Southern Nevada especially. And then obviously in my world travels, good times. But so I had good access. I talked to a lot of people when I was here, but I cannot emphasize this enough. I was only a spectator, and so the Downtown Project Retrospective still makes sense for anyone who is considering, because the Downtown Project took place right here, in some cases in our backyard, but in some cases in the front yard or in the house. So it's here, the same footprint is being used by the Innovation District, this general notion that there will be entrepreneurial innovation in the greater Vegas area, sort of centered, depending on how you look at it, either in the Innovation District in Las Vegas city proper, or in the Innovation District of Clark County. So we'll see. But the Downtown Project is still a great source of recent, topical, geographically local information. And from my perspective, again, as a spectator, I think there were a great many things that did work. I sometimes am asked if I am in some way being overly critical of Mr. Shea. Rest in peace, Tony. But no, this is not about an individual, although certainly he was an inspirational figure and led some of it, although leadership in a holacratic organization moved around. But this is not about the work of a person. It is about the infrastructure of the downtown project, the on-the-ground systems, interactions, community development, whether it would be considered a community or multiple communities, et cetera, et cetera. So there are a lot of aspects of the downtown project that are worth some reflection, some retrospective consideration. And so we can compare not only the Greater Vegas entrepreneurial ecosystem to other cities, but we can compare it to the Greater Vegas ecosystem of the downtown project era, which I am going to say roughly is from about 2013 to 2018. It was a 5-year mission to boldly go, etc. So I could be wrong. I could be starting, or I cannot remember when Zappos moved into the old City Hall building. It arguably started somewhere around then. It's hard to say when it officially, if it ever did end. So I'm expressing a line in the sand date range, and that's subject to change. But essentially, can we compare what occurred during the downtown project to the modern day, as the campaign plank Nevada will be the most entrepreneurial state in the United States, posited by a current governor, Joe Lombardo. Can that happen in Southern Nevada with the benefit of lessons learned during the downtown project? That's the question. So there are some objectives to this retrospective project, which at this time has one driver, my army of one, me, myself, and I, and several people from the downtown project timeframe who were much more directly involved than myself, who have expressed an interest in the early adoption phase. And hopefully, if they all find this very interesting, they will share with their friends and their colleagues from that time period. As I've reminded people frequently, I did not know everyone. I still don't. Some of the people I did know are long gone. Not everyone wants to look back so in such detail. So, but yeah, I was again not being on the team so much, but as a spectator, I could only observe. But I was not in the thick of it. I was not funded within the downtown project. I did attempt to connect downtown project entrepreneurs with the UNLV, at least engineering. There seemed to be a dearth of talent. The talent pool was not so deep as far as engagement directly with downtown project. So I did attempt to make that bridge based on my experiences with the clinic program at Harvey Mudd College, my alma mater. So that was probably about as involved as I actually got on the ground. And of course, I attended various events, like I said, Downtown Podcast, the Work in Progress dinners, the Downtown Lowdown. There were various social engagements, a lot of serendipitous collisions, which I, to this day, maintain is a nice idea, but not a business model, in my opinion. So these are the sorts of things, what worked, what didn't. These will be subjective, sort of a questionnaire format is what I'm envisioning, and there will be no rush. The downtown project is not going anywhere. It's if it is still in downtown, that's where it is. Questions answered will be useful whenever they are answered. Probably a questionnaire format, and so subjective questions about individual experiences as an entrepreneur, maybe you're a spectator too. What did you see? What did you think? Could be things like, what did you think you were getting yourselves into, you and possibly your team, if you had one, versus what did you find yourself getting into? Were the things that you were hoping for or expected, were they here? Did they work? I'm being slightly vague right now because I'm still formulating these different survey verticals. We'll probably look at things like the 4 pillars that I've espoused for an entrepreneurial ecosystem. So I call them education / access to talent pool, government participation, infrastructure, regulation, etc. Access to capital, that's sort of a given, but there are probably some nuances there. And then community. Community I differentiate from ecosystem. Community is part of the ecosystem, not the other way around. I've actually had this discussion with a friend of the show, Tyler Williams, concerning the use of the word and all the expectations that come with it. It's one reason I prefer ecosystem to community as a basis. An ecosystem is not so easily changed. Communities emerge from an ecosystem and may thrive or may not, depending on what the ecosystem can provide. So the pillars that make an ecosystem turn into something, if you will, right? The existence of the fertile ground from which to emerge, communities. So these four things will probably be the root of the survey, foci, however you pronounce that word, multiple focus. And as we gather responses, and we'll hope that people will spread that word. So we'll start there, and then there will probably be some dialing in of additional focus in different areas. This will hopefully be a painless but iterative process to reach this objective, to reach as many people as possible, to get some subjective responses to presented subjective questions. Hopefully they'll be honest. I would very much like to have a written portion, some opinions, some expository writings, if you will. I think that would be intensely useful. I would like to enable people to do that without attaching their name to it if possible. On the other hand, I don't want to wade through angry spamming and so on. So we'll have to see how this goes. But again, the take home will be obviously the people participating, and anyone from the Downtown Project Times might find the final outcome, if it takes the form of a report or a collection of statistical summary information. We'll see what we actually end up with. But so obviously historically, for those looking back, a walk down memory lane, perhaps that would be fine. That'd be great. Actually, those are fun. Hopefully they will not dredge up bad memories. I have spoken to a few people in the minority of the total number of people I've spoken with, certainly, but some people do not want to reflect on that time frame and probably don't want to be reminded. So that's okay too. So we would like to, though, determine one of the outcomes of this will be determining which parts of the Downtown Project worked and which did not, so that we can take those learnings and apply them to the modern day. There is a notion, I just read this the other day, that innovation, which by the way, I now refer to the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. Two great tastes go great together, peas and carrots. So innovation is in our DNA here in the greater Vegas area. I would argue it is not, but again, I have one viewpoint. I would like to get many. There will be people from the Downtown Project who can opine on that time frame. And what I would be curious to know is whether any individual, this is an example of the line of questioning I would like to pursue, if any individual who made the journey, the pilgrimage to the Downtown Project area, geographical area, and participated in with their own entrepreneurial venture. It doesn't have to be tech, it could be anything. Did you find, but hopefully innovative, that is, for a while this was true, downtown in general was not the destination of a franchise business or so on. It was usually one-offs, local businesses. I think that's a good idea. That is no longer true. Downtown, East Fremont, I think is less common to see, but certainly in the Fremont, under the Viva Vision, you're always finding the Starbucks and the Subways, the chains, and all that. But East Fremont was, as far as I could tell, was essentially all about local business and startup entrepreneurial efforts. So let's assume that's true. If when you came here, did you find access to people to hire, a challenge? Did you have trouble getting access to money, to capital, etc.? So how can we apply those to now? Was innovation really in our DNA? Did you find that most of the people you were encountering when it came to hiring talent or getting access to capital, or maybe even the emergent community or communities, were the people you were interacting with mostly from elsewhere? Las Vegas is a transient, Greater Vegas, in fact. It's very transient. A lot of people come here from other places. A lot of people don't stay forever. So were you encountering more collaborative potential, more synergy, if you like? That's always a good word. Were you encountering that synergy from people that were here, locals? Local, by the way, so I've lived here for 10 years, by the way. So as a 10-year local, I will say I will never be a native. But at this point, 10 years in, I would consider myself a local. So why not? But from your memory, if you are participating, do you look back at that time and think, yeah, I did encounter a lot of people who grew up in Vegas or who had lived here for quite some time, who wanted to be innovative, who wanted to take part in innovation, and again, it could be innovation in hospitality, food service, anything service industry, could be anything retail, could be anything tech. Just the notion of doing something unusual outside the comfort zone. I would argue that that's probably the case, that you were encountering these people from other places. They did, in those cases, travel for the sake of their ideas. So that's a notion that I would like to test. There are many, so we'll see. So, and of course, we'll compare the subjective data and we'll try to get some objective data from the time period and then that time period forward. There was always some confusion about, which startups actually found success downtown, which ones were funded and departed. We had a nice podcast episode with Dylan Bathurst about his experience with Rummager. There was always the question about access to capital from outside of the Greater Vegas area and whether there were those strings attached where they tug on the string to have you relocate. So we can look at the objective outcomes if we can find sufficient data for that and compare with some of the subjective opinions and views and recollections from the time, and we'll come up with a picture so that rather than I was about to use motivated reasoning to describe motivated reasoning. So rather than making the claim or claims about the fortitude of our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, we can look at the recent past and the current present and see how things align and see if we can predict the future by recalling the past. How about that? So there you go. I hope this has been a useful sort of reset of the notion. The pursuit of the retrospective, I think, will be highly valuable, more so than some people think. Again, I've heard that history is useless from what is under 30 right now is Gen Z, right? So some Gen Zers have scoffed at the notion, but people from the Downtown Project era have been generally interested. I cannot say that the city of Las Vegas itself is interested, even though Downtown Project took place within the administrative boundaries of the city of Las Vegas, but not a tremendous amount of interest there. More interest in visiting other cities. And so again, this I find fascinating. I will reiterate my own take. I worked in Silicon Valley for 15 years, I think it is. 1993, 2001, 2005, 2013, however long that is. A long time. A long time in internet years. And I will say it again, as I've said before many times, we do not need to be the next Silicon Valley. That has been done. We can see where that got people. You cannot possibly visit Silicon Valley today and believe that this is what we should be. If you're going to do that, you should visit Silicon Valley in 1947. So get yourself a time machine and Stanford or Professor, I can't remember his name again. I really got to write that on my hand or something. Thornton something? No, that's a person at the Las Vegas Special Olympics. Anyway, there's a professor who I will, someday I will interview his offspring perhaps. But a walk down memory lane would be useful in that regard. Anyway, so if we can't go all the way back and develop the culture that is Silicon Valley of that time, that's where the silicon in Silicon Valley came from, that time period. The Traitorous Eight, Gordon Moore, Robert Noyce, Andy Grove of Intel fame, and the various other companies that sprang forth, and the hierarchy of historical innovators who decided to break free of their employer and start their own thing. That was the culture of Silicon Valley for a long time, and it wasn't at scale. It wasn't receiving cash infusions from venture capitalists and so on, but when I think of being the next Silicon Valley, that time frame is important. The late 40s, post World War II, post-war inventions, if you will. So I'd rather see us be a better Vegas. So don't try to be the next Silicon Valley. That's been done. Be a better Vegas. And I think I said better Las Vegas, but a better, greater Vegas, if you will. Be a greater Vegas. So I'm hoping that by looking back and talking to people who were there, who have been there, done that, maybe they still have the T-shirt on, that we can learn from our pioneers, if you will, who brought a entrepreneurial enclave to the downtown area to see what might happen. So that's the goal. We'll see what happens. The retrospective project itself has not kicked off. So if you are listening to this and you are wondering, hey, I have not heard anything about this, that's okay. You will. There's still some details about implementation, about how best to, as at least one person has suggested in the past, just use Google Forms. Those work for everything, and that may or may not be true. Google Forms might work. Some custom capture might work. A combination of both. The website where this will appear will start out on the cafegenius.org website. 2 Fs, like Cafe Centro in San Francisco, where Twitter, or whatever it's called now, launched so many years ago. A cafe of innovation in the San Francisco South Park. I've been there many times. It is a cool spot. There should be a Cafe Centro, which was the name of the shop. Cafe Centro should be here in Vegas, somewhere in our innovation district, but who knows? Arguably, that is presently Desert Wind Coffee Roasters on the west side, not in the innovation district. So something to think about. On that note, if you are interested in the Downtown Project Retrospective, if you are of the time and you would like to participate, watch this space. There are several people: Tyler Williams, Amy Groth, Della Rucker, who else? Sean Looker, who is one of my fellow board members at Innovate for Vegas. There are people that were interested and still are, and who were actually a part of, much more directly than I was, the Downtown Project, whether as a employee of Zappos or participating indirectly or directly in a startup as part of the Downtown Project, and so on. So there will be several people who you will know if you're interested in this, and they will probably come to you if everything works to plan. And you should be hearing about this from at least one or possibly more people who were there, who you will remember. You may not know me. That's okay. Statistically, most likely that you will have no idea who I am. That's totally fine. So on that note, look for it coming soon. I have so many other things going on. It's ridiculous, but this is important. It is coming, and we will definitely make use of whatever results we can capture. So thank you for listening. Tell your friends. cafegenius.org, CAFFE, genius, no space, no hyphen, no dash, no nothing. cafegenius.org. And stay tuned to this podcast channel for future audio program episodes about this and various other things about our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. Thanks.